Teenage girl caught with a billionaire's ATM card. Only DNA could tell the truth. Welcome to Audie Ray Stories, from ancient African myths to modern mysteries. So sit back, relax, let's journey together through the magic of storytelling. Don't forget to subscribe. The afternoon sun hung mercilessly over Accra's Makola market, pouring heat like molten gold upon the restless crowd. Traders shouted prices across the narrow lanes. The air smelled of roasted plantains, sweat, and the metallic tang of trotro exhaust. Amid this chaos, 17-year-old Efua Mensah weaved through the throng barefoot, her threadbare dress clinging to her skin. Hunger gnawed at her stomach so fiercely that her head swam. For 2 days, she had eaten nothing but a single sachet of water. Her eyes darted toward the Unity Bank branch across the street, its air-conditioned glass walls gleaming like a mirage of a better life. She wasn't supposed to be there. But fate, as cruel as it was, had laid temptation right at her feet. Moments earlier, she had spotted a small brown leather wallet lying near the ATM steps. Inside was a gold-edged ATM card, the kind she'd only seen on TV. She glanced around, heart pounding. No one seemed to notice. She hesitated, the card trembling in her dusty fingers. Maybe the owner would come back, she told herself. But minutes passed. People hurried by, uninterested. Her stomach growled louder. "What harm in checking if there's a little money left?" she whispered. Her voice quivered, as if afraid of its own audacity. Just one withdrawal. One meal. She joined the queue. The card's embossed name caught her eye. Kojo Asare. The name sounded powerful. Familiar, even. But she couldn't place it. When it was finally her turn, her fingers shook as she slid the card into the machine. The green light blinked. She reached for the keypad, ready to press balance inquiry. That's when 2 firm hands seized her from behind. "EI. What are you doing with that card?" barked a uniformed security guard, his grip like iron on her arm. I found it. Please, I just wanted to." "Wanted to steal, you mean?" interrupted the second guard, taller and sterner, his eyes narrowed. "No. I swear. It was on the ground. Come inside. Now." Before she could protest, they dragged her past the ATM crowd. The murmurs began immediately. "Ah, see the girl? Small girl like that. She's a thief-o. These street children, no shame." Inside the bank's cold lobby, Efua's knees nearly buckled. The air smelled of polished marble and disinfectant. She'd never stood in such a pristine place, not as a customer at least. The shorter guard shoved her into a chair. "You think we don't have CCTV? We saw you pick it from the ground." "But..." "Quiet," he barked, turning to a teller. "Call the manager." Tears welled in her eyes. The room tilted slightly. Hunger and fear battled for control of her trembling body. On the counter beside her, the bronze bird pendant on her neck glinted faintly in the fluorescent light, the only thing she owned that held meaning. Her mother, Mama ABA, had given it to her when she was little. "Never lose this," ABA had said. "It will remind you who you are." The manager, a stout woman in a navy blue suit, stormed out of her office. "What's going on?" "She tried to use someone's card," one guard replied. The manager frowned, snatching the card from Efua's hand. Her eyes widened. This name. Kojo Asare. The guards exchanged glances. "Yes, madam." The woman's tone shifted from annoyance to alarm. "Do you have any idea whose card this is?" "This belongs to Mr. Kojo Asare, CEO of Asare Holdings." Even the guards froze. The name carried weight. Billionaire industrialist, philanthropist, one of Ghana's richest men. His face was on billboards, magazines, and TV talk shows. The manager snatched her phone. "Call the police. Immediately." "No, please," Efua cried, collapsing to her knees. "I didn't know. I'm hungry." But her words were drowned out by the wailing sirens that drew closer outside. Minutes later, 2 policemen entered, their boots echoing across the tiles. They handcuffed her without a word. She sobbed uncontrollably, trying to explain, but the world around her blurred into flashes. Cameras from onlookers' phones, whispers of billionaire's card thief, and the hum of curious spectators pressing against the glass. As they led her out, the media vans began to arrive. Someone must have leaked it already. In the patrol car, Efua pressed her forehead to the window. The city outside sped by, the hawkers, the noise, the sky heavy with approaching rain. At the police station, the interrogations began. Where did you get the card? I found it on the ground, I swear. Who sent you? No one. The officer leaned forward. You expect us to believe that a poor girl just found a billionaire's card? You think we are fools. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I didn't even type the PIN yet. The officer slammed a file shut. We'll see what the CCTV says. That evening, the footage arrived. It showed Efua picking up the card, hesitating, then joining the queue. No attempt to run. No accomplice. Still, the narrative had already taken root. Thief caught using billionaire's ATM card. By nightfall, the story was trending on Twitter. Some mocked her. Others pitied her. But the loudest voices called for punishment. In a small holding cell, Efua huddled in a corner, her pendant clutched tightly in her fist. Hunger was now joined by shame. Mama, what will you think of me? Hours later, a junior officer walked in. The card's owner is coming himself, he muttered. Efua looked up, startled. The owner? Yes. Mr. Kojo Asare. He's already on his way. She swallowed hard. The billionaire? Coming here, because of her? The minutes crawled. Outside, engines roared. Flashbulbs burst through the window bars. Then, heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor. The door opened. A tall man in a white kaftan stepped in, his presence commanding silence. His hair was flecked with gray, his wristwatch gleamed. His voice cut through the air like steel. Who dared use my card? Efua's breath caught. She turned slowly, trembling. And for the briefest moment, when his eyes met hers, the man's expression changed. Confusion, then shock, then something softer. The officers waited for his command. But Kojo Asare didn't speak again. He simply stared, at her face, her eyes, and the small bronze bird glinting at her throat. The officer cleared his throat nervously. Sir, should we proceed with the charges? Kojo's lips parted, his voice barely a whisper. No, not yet. He stepped closer, eyes never leaving Efua's trembling figure. Don't touch her again, he said. The room fell silent. Outside, the cameras clicked furiously, capturing the moment that would soon set Ghana's social media ablaze. The hum of whispers filled the Unity Bank branch like a restless storm. Outside, the police van idled, lights flashing red against the spotless glass doors. Reporters pressed their cameras against the windows, desperate to capture the story that was already lighting up every phone screen in Accra. Teenage girl caught with billionaire's ATM card. Inside, Efua Mensah sat on a wooden bench, wrists bound, eyes red from crying. Her stomach cramped from both fear and hunger. Every sound made her flinch, the clicking of heels, the murmur of officers, the beeping of computers. She wished she could vanish into the floor. Then, all at once, the room stilled. The glass doors slid open with a soft mechanical hiss, and Kojo Asare entered. He was taller than she expected. His white kaftan shimmered in the afternoon light, his gold wristwatch glinting like a badge of power. The air around him seemed to change, even the officers straightened, instinctively respectful. The manager rushed forward, bowing slightly. Good afternoon, Mr. Asare, sir. We are terribly sorry for the inconvenience. Where is she? His voice was calm, yet it carried the authority of a man used to being obeyed. The manager pointed. Efua froze. Their eyes met for the first time. Kojo's gaze lingered. Something in her face, the curve of her cheek, the shape of her eyes, tugged at a place deep within him. His composure wavered for a fraction of a second. He took a step closer. "Is this the one?" he asked. The police officer nodded. "Yes, sir. She was caught trying to use your card." Efua shook her head desperately. "I didn't try. I just found it," the officer snapped. "Quiet." But Kojo raised a hand. "Let her speak." His tone softened, almost involuntarily. "What's your name?" "Efua. Efua Mensah." Her voice was barely a whisper. "And how did you come by my card, Efua Mensah?" "I was walking by the bank," she said quickly, tears forming again. "I saw it on the ground. I didn't know it was yours. I was just hungry. I thought maybe there was something small I could." She stopped, ashamed. Kojo studied her closely. He saw the trembling hands, the cracked lips, the worn slippers that barely held together. But what struck him most was the pendant on her neck, a small bronze bird, dull from years of wear. His breath caught. "It can't be." He stepped closer, voice lower. "That pendant. Where did you get it?" Efua blinked. "My mother gave it to me. Said it was from long ago." "Your mother's name?" "Mama Aba. Aba Mensah." The name hit him like thunder. His eyes widened. The manager noticed his sudden stillness. "Sir, is everything all right?" He didn't answer. Memories began to flood in, a young woman's laughter, soft hands folding laundry, whispered promises behind closed doors. A bronze bird glinting in candlelight. The past he'd buried 17 years ago. Before anyone could react, the police doors burst open. A woman, breathless and wild-eyed, stumbled inside. Her wrapper was loose around her shoulders, sweat dripping down her face. "Where is my daughter? Where is Efua?" "Mama!" Efua cried, standing at once. The woman rushed to her, throwing her arms around her protectively. "Don't touch my child," she yelled at the officers. "Madam, calm down," one officer said. "Your daughter. Don't madam me. She hasn't done anything wrong." Aba's eyes darted around until they landed on Kojo. And when they did, her whole body froze. He stared back, stunned. "Aba." The word left his mouth before he could stop it. Soft. Disbelieving. Aba's lips trembled. "Kojo." Silence fell across the entire bank. Even the clicking cameras outside seemed to pause. The police officer looked between them, confused. "You know each other?" Kojo stepped forward slowly, almost as if approaching a ghost. "It's been 17 years. Aba took a step back, clutching Efua's arm. "Stay away from us." Efua looked between them, bewildered. You know him?" "Don't ask me that now," her mother snapped, voice cracking. "We're leaving." She turned to the officers. "Unhand her. You have no right to keep her." But Kojo's voice, calm and firm, cut through the noise. "She's staying." Everyone turned. "I'll take responsibility," he continued. "This girl, Efua, will be released into my custody while I investigate the matter personally." "Sir," the officer protested, "procedure doesn't allow." "I'll handle it." Kojo's tone brooked no argument. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes, sir, but..." "Then you know what to do." Aba's fury flared. "You can't. You took everything from me once, Kojo Asare. You won't take my daughter too." The entire room went still again. Kojo's brow furrowed. "What are you talking about?" "You don't remember?" Her voice trembled between anger and heartbreak. "You remember enough to call my name." He looked at her properly now, the lines of struggle etched around her eyes, the once smooth hands now rough from years of cleaning and cooking. But beneath it all, she was the same Aba. The woman he'd once loved, long before the world had hardened him. "I thought you left," he whispered. "They told me you disappeared after After. They told me you got married to that woman in London and never looked back, she cut in bitterly. I left because I was pregnant, Kojo. Pregnant and alone. Efua's heart stopped. She looked from her mother to Kojo, confusion turning into shock. Pregnant? What are you saying? ABA's lips quivered, but no words came out. Tears streamed down her face. Kojo's voice was hoarse. Are you saying Efua could be? He couldn't finish. The words caught in his throat. ABA turned away, covering her face. I don't know anymore. It doesn't matter. You're too late. He exhaled shakily. If there's even a chance. His gaze fell on Efua again, her features now unmistakably echoing fragments of his own youth. I have to know. He turned to the officer. Arrange a DNA test. Immediately. ABA gasped. No. You have no right. I have every right to know the truth, Kojo said quietly. Efua, still trembling, whispered. Mama, is it true? ABA's silence was the answer. Outside, the paparazzi shouted questions, flashes bursting like lightning. Inside, a silence heavier than any scream hung in the air. Kojo finally turned toward the exit, his voice low but steady. I'll send a car for both of you tomorrow. Until then, keep her safe. He gave one last look, at ABA, who stood shaking with anger, and at Efua, who stared back with wide, frightened eyes that looked so much like his own, and walked out into the flashing cameras. The door closed behind him. ABA sank into a chair, clutching Efua's hand. He won't stop now, she whispered, voice trembling. And once the truth comes out, nothing will ever be the same again. The morning sun rose reluctantly over Accra, its golden light creeping through the bars of the Adabroka police station. The night had been long and sleepless for Efua Mensah, whose eyes were swollen from tears. She sat on a wooden bench, her bronze bird pendant cold against her skin, her mind spinning in a storm of confusion. The words from the previous day still echoed in her ears. Are you saying Efua could be mine? She didn't understand what it meant, not fully. But the look on both their faces, her mother's horror, the billionaire's shock, told her this wasn't just about a stolen card anymore. This was about something much bigger. Something buried deep in time. The police officers moved around lazily, sipping morning tea. One of them turned on a small television perched on a shelf. The headline blazed across the screen. Billionaire Kojo Asare takes interest in card thief. Who is she? Efua's stomach tightened. The video showed her blurred face at the bank, Kojo's tall figure beside her. Commentators debated whether the girl was a victim or a scammer. Her mother, Mama Aba, sat beside her, silent, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The woman looked older than yesterday, her headscarf slightly crooked, her eyes clouded with fatigue and fear. When the police chief entered the room, everyone stood up. Behind him walked Kojo Asare, wearing a dark blue agbada this time, his face solemn. He greeted no one except the chief and then looked directly at Aba. Madam Aba Mensah, he said quietly. May I speak to you alone? Aba stiffened. There's nothing to talk about. Kojo's gaze didn't waver. There's everything to talk about. The chief gestured toward his office. You can use my room. Kojo turned to Efua. You'll stay here, all right? No one will hurt you. She nodded faintly, unsure whether to trust him. Inside the chief's office, the door closed behind them. The air was heavy. Kojo stood near the window, watching the sunlight fall across the dusty blinds. 17 years, he murmured. And you never said a word. Aba's arms folded across her chest defensively. What was I supposed to say? That I was carrying the child of a man who abandoned me. He turned sharply. Abandoned you? Aba, I searched for you for months. My family told me you'd gone to the village, that you wanted nothing to do with me. Your family, she said bitterly, made sure of that. Your father threatened me the day I left that house. Said if I ever came near you again, I'd regret it. I was a maid, Kojo. You were the master's son. Did you really think your father would allow it? Kojo's face hardened. You should have told me. I tried, she cried, her voice breaking. But you were already gone. Married to that businesswoman from London. I saw the photos in the papers. I thought you moved on. He sank into a chair, rubbing his temples. That marriage. It wasn't love. It was a deal. My father wanted to secure a partnership. You were the only one. He stopped himself. But it's too late to talk about that now. Silence stretched between them, filled with years of loss. Finally, Kojo spoke again, softly. So Efua, she's mine? Aba hesitated. I don't know for sure. I didn't have the chance to find out. I left Accra with nothing. No money, no support. I gave birth alone. I raised her on my own. She deserves to know the truth, he said. And what will that truth give her, Kojo? Aba's voice rose. A life under cameras? A world full of people calling her a thief, or worse, a scandal. She's just a child. Don't drag her into your empire's drama. Kojo stood again, anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. You think I want this for publicity? That I enjoy seeing my daughter in handcuffs on the evening news. Aba's eyes widened. Don't call her that yet. He leaned closer, voice low. You can hate me all you want, Aba, but if there's even a chance she's my daughter, I need to know. Her jaw trembled. And if she is? Then she'll have the life she deserves. Education. Safety. Dignity. Aba laughed bitterly. And you think money fixes everything? Where were you when we had to beg for rent? When she cried from hunger? When I was sick and couldn't afford medicine? His voice cracked. I didn't know. That's the point, she snapped. You never knew. He exhaled, defeated. Then let the truth speak. A DNA test, that's all I'm asking. Aba turned away, pressing her fingers to her forehead. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then quietly, if it ends this madness, fine. Do your test. But if you think it'll change how I raise my daughter, you're mistaken. Kojo nodded, pain flickering behind his eyes. The test will be tomorrow morning. I'll send a car. When they stepped back into the main room, Efua looked up, searching their faces. What's going to happen? Kojo knelt before her. We're going to find out the truth, Efua. That's all. She frowned. What truth? He hesitated, then simply said, the truth about where you belong. Aba looked away, unable to meet her daughter's gaze. The next day came too quickly. Cameras waited outside a Surrey diagnostic center as Kojo's convoy pulled up. News vans lined the street. Inside, the white walls smelled of antiseptic. Efua sat between her mother and Kojo, tense and silent. The doctor explained the procedure gently, but her words barely registered. A nurse swabbed the inside of her cheek. Kojo followed, then Aba. Each moment felt heavier than the last. When it was done, Kojo spoke quietly to the doctor. I want the results expedited. No leaks to the press. The doctor nodded. You'll have them within 48 hours. Outside, flashbulbs erupted again. Reporters shouted questions. Mr. Asare, is it true she's your daughter? Madam Aba, were you his maid? Efua, how does it feel being caught in this scandal? Police officers escorted them to their car. Efua ducked her head, gripping her pendant tightly. The bronze bird felt heavier than ever. That night, back in their small single-room home in Nima, Aba wept quietly as Efua lay beside her. Mama, Efua whispered, is it true what he said? Were you with him? Aba didn't answer. Only tears fell onto the mat between them. Mama. She finally turned, voice breaking. Yes, child. Once upon a time, I loved him. And I paid the price. Efua's chest tightened. Then if he's my father? ABA interrupted, voice trembling but firm. Blood or not, he wasn't there when you needed him. Remember that. Outside, the city buzzed with rumors, headlines, and speculation. Inside the tiny room, silence reigned. Efua clutched her pendant, staring into the dark. Somewhere across town, Kojo sat alone in his mansion, an old photograph trembling in his hands, himself and a young ABA laughing under a mango tree. Around her neck gleamed the same bronze bird. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow, the test would tell the truth. As dawn crept in, the doctor's phone buzzed with the lab results. His eyes widened at the screen. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. The city of Accra woke buzzing. Radios crackled, televisions blared, and timelines overflowed with hashtags that refused to die. Hashtag Billionaire's Card Girl. Hashtag Efua Mensa. Hashtag DNA Result Day. Everyone had an opinion. Taxi drivers argued over her guilt. Talk show hosts speculated on Kojo Asore's secret past. Influencers posted reaction videos with captions like, "The maid's daughter" or "The billionaire's heir." And through all the noise, Efua Mensa sat in silence at the edge of her narrow bed, twisting her bronze bird pendant between trembling fingers. It had been 2 days since the DNA test. 2 days since strangers began camping outside their small compound in Nima. Cameras flashed whenever she stepped outside for water. Neighbors whispered. The world had turned her life into entertainment. Her mother, Mama ABA, was ironing clothes quietly in the corner, the same old job she'd done since Efua could remember. Each hiss of the iron sounded like a heartbeat. "Don't go out today," ABA said softly. "They're waiting for you." Efua nodded. "Do you think he'll come here with the results?" ABA didn't answer. She only pressed harder against the wrinkled shirt, her face set in that familiar, silent pain. Across the city, at Asore Holdings headquarters, the atmosphere was no less tense. Executives whispered in corridors. The PR department drafted statements for every possible outcome. Inside his top-floor office, Kojo Asore sat staring at a photograph from 17 years ago. Himself and ABA, younger, standing near a beach. Around her neck, the same bronze pendant glinted. His thumb brushed the image, a faint smile ghosting across his lips. Then his phone buzzed. "Sir," said his assistant's cautious voice, "the doctor is here." With the envelope. Kojo's heart thudded. "Send him in." Dr. Bidioko, grey-haired and soft-spoken, stepped in with a manila envelope tucked under his arm. "Good morning, Mr. Asore." Kojo stood, every muscle rigid. "Morning, doctor. Just tell me." The doctor hesitated. "Perhaps you'd like to." "Please," Kojo said, voice low. "No ceremony." Dr. Bidioko nodded, pulled out the paper, and handed it to him. Kojo unfolded it slowly. His eyes scanned the printed lines, finding the one sentence that seemed to glow on the page. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. For a second, he didn't breathe. His hands trembled. The room blurred. "Sir?" the doctor asked gently. Kojo sank into his chair. His vision swam. 99.9. His throat tightened. "She's mine," he whispered. "My daughter." The doctor smiled faintly. "Congratulations, sir. I know this must be." But Kojo wasn't listening. Memories flooded in, a young woman's laughter, promises whispered in the dark, a bronze bird glinting in candlelight. And then the years lost, birthdays missed, tears unseen, a childhood unlived. He pressed the paper to his chest and wept. By noon, the news had already leaked. DNA confirmed, billionaire's lost daughter found. Street girl's father turns out to be Ghana's richest man. From ATM thief to heiress, the miracle of Efua Mensa. Television anchors debated her transformation story. Online trolls posted side-by-side photos of Efua and Kojo. See the resemblance. At the Nima compound, people crowded the gate, chanting her name. Some out of curiosity, others out of awe. Inside, ABA switched off the TV. "They'll destroy us with their mouths," she muttered. Efua, still sitting by the window, whispered, "Mama, it's true, isn't it?" ABA turned slowly, meeting her daughter's wide, trembling eyes. "Yes," she said, voice breaking. "He's your father." Efua's world tilted. "Then, why didn't you tell me?" "Because it wouldn't have changed a thing," ABA replied bitterly. "He had his world. We had ours. But I should have known." "You know now," her mother said, folding her arms. "And now the whole country knows too." Before Efua could reply, a black car pulled up outside. 2 security men stepped out, followed by Kojo Asore himself. Neighbors gasped. Reporters surged forward. "Mama," Efua whispered, heart racing. "He's here." Kojo entered the compound quietly. His usual commanding aura softened by something almost tender. He stopped a few feet away from them. "ABA," he greeted. "Efua." Neither woman spoke. He held out the envelope, his voice shaking slightly. "It's confirmed." ABA didn't look at it. "I already knew," she said flatly. Kojo turned to Efua. "I came to take you home." She blinked, startled. "Home? My home," he said gently. "You're home now." ABA stepped forward, her eyes blazing. "No. She stays here." Kojo sighed. "ABA, please. Don't let pride." "Pride?" Her voice cracked. "You think this is about pride? You weren't there when I carried her, when I cleaned other people's floors to feed her. And now you want to swoop in with your cars and guards and take her." Kojo's tone softened. "I only want to give her what she deserves." "She deserves a father who was there," ABA spat. Efua looked between them, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Stop, please." But neither stopped. "You had 17 years, Kojo," ABA continued. "You can't make up for that with money." He looked at her, eyes heavy with regret. "Maybe not. But I can try." Efua whispered, voice trembling. "Mama, maybe I should go. Just to see." ABA turned sharply. "No. You don't know that world. It will eat you alive." Kojo stepped closer. "Let her choose." Silence. Only the crowd outside, murmuring, filming, judging. Efua looked at her mother, the woman who had carried her through hunger and hardship, then at Kojo, who stood like a stranger yet somehow felt connected to her by something undeniable. Her voice was small but firm. "I want to know who I am. Both sides." ABA's eyes filled with tears. "Then promise me one thing. Don't forget where you came from." "I promise," Efua whispered. Kojo reached out, hesitating before placing a hand on her shoulder. "We'll start slowly," he said softly. "No rush." That night, Kojo brought Efua and ABA to a quiet guesthouse to avoid the press. Cameras still camped outside, but inside, the atmosphere was fragile peace. Over dinner, Kojo tried to smile. "You look like my mother when you're angry," he told Efua. She managed a tiny laugh. "Maybe that's where I get it." ABA didn't eat much. Her eyes remained distant. When the plates were cleared, Kojo said quietly, "Efua, tomorrow I'd like to show you the foundation. What I've built. What could one day be yours." ABA looked up sharply. "Don't start filling her head." Kojo met her gaze. "I'm not. I'm filling her future." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with memories, regrets, and questions that had no easy answers. By midnight, social media exploded again. Clips of Kojo's visit circulated online. Commentators debated what would happen next. "He's doing the right thing. He's just saving face." That girl's life will never be the same. Meanwhile, in her quiet room, Efua watched the city lights from the window. Her pendant rested against her chest. Warm again. She whispered to the night. If he's really my father, maybe this is just the beginning. In another room, Kojo sat awake, staring at the DNA report on his desk, the words 99.9% burning into his heart. He smiled faintly through his tears. My daughter, he whispered. ABA stood by the door, watching him through the half-open window. Her voice was low, trembling. You can claim her blood, Kojo, she murmured, but you'll never understand the scars. Morning light spilled through the tall windows of the Asare estate, but peace was nowhere to be found. Outside the mansion gates, dozens of journalists jostled for space, their cameras flashing like lightning. Microphones stretched toward every car that entered. Billionaire's long-lost daughter, seen moving into her father's mansion. Is this the biggest scandal of the decade? Meet Efua Asare, from ATM suspect to billionaire's blood. The headlines screamed louder than reality. Inside, Efua Mensah, or Efua Asare, as the world now called her, sat nervously at the breakfast table. The marble floor reflected her pale face. A maid poured juice into her glass, and she murmured, "Thank you," unsure if she was even allowed to speak freely here. At the other end of the long table sat Kojo Asare, dressed in a crisp cream agbada, scrolling through his phone with weary eyes. His assistant whispered updates from PR teams, lawyers, and family members. Kojo's empire was stable, but his reputation now balanced on a knife's edge. Across the table, Efua pushed her food around the plate. She wasn't used to silver spoons or spotless napkins. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind, "Don't let their luxury make you forget who you are." Kojo finally looked up. "Eat something, Efua." She nodded but barely touched her fork. "They're outside again." "I know." He sighed. "They'll get tired soon. The world always moves on to another story." "Will they?" she whispered. "Or will they keep calling me the thief who found her father?" Kojo put his phone down and looked at her properly. "You are not a thief. You're my daughter. And that's all that matters." She wanted to believe him. But even as he spoke, she could feel the stares, from the maids, from the guards, from the framed portraits of Kojo's family hanging on the wall. Especially from one, Yor Asare, Kojo's firstborn son. Yor stood in the doorway, his jaw tight, eyes cold. "So this is her." "Yor," Kojo warned. He ignored him and walked closer, his tailored suit immaculate, his posture sharp with pride. "The girl who tried to steal from us." Efua froze. "I didn't." "Yor cut her off." "Oh, I saw the footage." "Everyone did. Don't play innocent. If the police hadn't caught you, you'd have emptied the account." "Yor." Kojo's voice thundered. "That's enough." But Yor smirked. "Is it? You're so blinded by guilt you can't see what's happening. This girl walks in from the streets, waves a DNA test, and suddenly she's family? What about loyalty? What about blood that actually knows you?" Efua's hands trembled under the table. Kojo rose slowly, his calm more dangerous than anger. "Efua is my blood. And you will treat her with respect." Yor laughed bitterly. "Respect? You're embarrassing yourself, father. You think the board won't question this? You think the press will just stop?" "I don't care what the board thinks," Kojo said evenly. "This is my family. Your family." Yor sneered. "Then what am I? The mistake that came first." Kojo's face softened. "No. You're my son. But she's nothing," Yor snapped, his voice sharp as glass. "A street girl who found her way into our name." Efua stood abruptly, tears stinging her eyes. "You don't know me. You don't know anything about me." Yor tilted his head. "Oh, I know enough. I know your mother was a maid. I know you grew up in the gutter. And I know this," he gestured around the marble hall, "is not your world. Yor." Kojo roared, but the damage was done. Efua turned and ran out, her slippers slapping against the floor. Outside the mansion gates, the crowd parted as she burst through. Cameras flashed again. Efua Asare spotted crying after family feud. Trouble in the billionaire's house? The media vultures swarmed. Efua, did your insult you? Are you really his daughter? Is your mother a homewrecker? She pushed past them, covering her face, and ran until she reached the quiet corner of the garden. Far from the cameras, far from the noise. Her breath hitched. I shouldn't have come here, she whispered. But before she could sink into despair, a voice came from behind her. Don't let them break you. She turned. Kojo stood there, his expression torn between sorrow and pride. You belong here as much as anyone. I don't feel like I do. He smiled faintly. Neither did I when I built all this. The world never gives space willingly. You take it. Efua looked up at him, searching his face. Then why do they hate me so much? Because you remind them of the truth, that power and bloodlines can't erase where we come from. That evening, Kojo insisted she accompany him to a charity gala. Let them see you as my daughter, he said. Not a rumor. At first, Efua refused. But he was right. Hiding would only make things worse. When they arrived, photographers nearly blinded them with flashes. Kojo held her hand protectively as they stepped onto the red carpet. Smile, he whispered. But keep your chin high. Inside, the ballroom glimmered with chandeliers and polished egos. Every eye turned toward them, admiration mixed with disdain. Yor was already there, mingling effortlessly. He approached with a champagne glass and a cruel smile. Oh look, our newest celebrity. Kojo's tone was sharp. You're not tonight. But Yor only raised his voice so others could hear. Tell me, sister, how does it feel to go from handcuffs to high heels? A few guests chuckled nervously. Efua's cheeks burned. Kojo's fist clenched, but before he could speak, Efua found her voice. It feels like climbing, she said clearly, and not everyone wants to see me reach the top. A hush fell over the crowd. Cameras turned their way. Kojo placed his arm around her shoulders and faced the audience. Since the world wants the truth, he began, his voice steady. Here it is. Efua Asare is my daughter. I failed her once. I won't fail her again. The ballroom erupted in gasps and applause. Some clapped genuinely, others only for appearances. But the cameras caught everything. That single clip, a billionaire publicly embracing his daughter, flooded the internet within hours. Kojo Asare admits to hidden daughter on live TV. Air restored, from scandal to redemption. For the first time, Efua saw comments filled with love instead of hate. From suspect to daughter, God works miracles. She's brave. She didn't let shame win. But not everyone was happy. Late that night, as Efua scrolled through her phone, a new post appeared. Grainy, shaky footage from years ago. A young ABA, weeping in a maid's quarters, whispering, "They told me I wasn't good enough for him." The caption read, "Meet the maid who seduced a billionaire, and her secret child." Efua's heart dropped. Within minutes, the video was everywhere. Kojo's phone buzzed non-stop. "Who leaked this?" he demanded. His assistant hesitated. "Sir, we traced it to someone using the family's private server." Kojo's jaw tightened. "You're..." He looked at Efua's terrified face and swore under his breath. He's crossed the line. As the headlines explode with the scandal, Efua's phone lights up again. A new message from an unknown number. "You don't belong in his world. Leave now, or the next video will destroy you." The morning after the leak was chaos. So the mother was a maid? That girl is reaping what her mother sowed. Maybe they planned it all. Scam of the century. By 10 a.m., #Maid and the Millionaire trended across Ghana. Every blogger had an opinion, every stranger a judgment. Inside the Asare mansion, Efua sat on her bed, staring at the screen of her cracked phone. Tears blurred her vision as she scrolled through insults. The comments stabbed like knives. Gold digger's daughter. She used pity to trap the billionaire. From ATM thief to public disgrace. She shut the phone and pressed her palms against her face. The pendant on her neck, that small bronze bird, felt heavier than ever. A soft knock sounded on her door. Efua. It was Kojo Asare, his voice weary but gentle. "Come in," she whispered. He entered, dressed plainly for once. No designer kaftan, no entourage. Just a father with tired eyes. "I tried to stop the spread," he said. "But the internet, it doesn't forget." "I know." He sat beside her. For a long time, neither spoke. The mansion, once buzzing with servants and phone calls, was quiet now, like a fortress under siege. Finally, Kojo sighed. "You did this. I have proof." Efua looked up sharply. "Your own son." He nodded slowly. "He thinks this will push you away. Make you ashamed." Her voice trembled. "Maybe he's right. Maybe I should just go." "No," his tone hardened. "He can take my company, my wealth, my name, but not my child again." Efua turned to him, eyes glistening. "You keep calling me your child, but the world doesn't see it that way. They see a mistake. A scandal." Kojo smiled faintly. "Then let's show them something different." She frowned. "What do you mean?" He stood. "There's a youth conference tonight. Televised. I was supposed to speak. But you will." "Me?" she gasped. "I'm not." "Yes, you are," he interrupted firmly. "You've lived what they only talk about. Poverty, rejection, survival. You're exactly who they need to hear." Efua hesitated. "What if they laugh at me?" "Then you'll speak louder," he said, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. "Because truth silences laughter." By evening, the National Conference Center was packed. The event had been promoted as a leadership forum, but now everyone came for one reason: to see the billionaire's daughter speak. Cameras lined the hall. Influencers live-streamed. Even Yor sat near the back, arms crossed, watching with an unreadable expression. Backstage, Efua's heart thudded so hard she thought the microphone would catch it. Her palms were slick with sweat. Kojo gave her an encouraging nod. "Just speak your truth." She took a shaky breath and stepped into the lights. The crowd erupted in murmurs. "Is that her? She looks so young. Imagine the courage." The moderator smiled nervously. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Efua Asare." Applause scattered like hesitant rain. Efua gripped the podium, her voice trembling at first. "Good evening. My name is Efua Mensah. Some of you know me as the girl caught with an ATM card." Laughter rippled softly across the hall. She paused, then smiled faintly. "Yes, that was me. Hungry, desperate, and foolish. But that day didn't define me. It revealed me." The laughter died. Silence followed. "I grew up watching my mother work herself to the bone so I could eat. She told me to never forget who I am, even when the world tries to decide for me. But the world did decide. They called me a thief, a liar, a mistake. And for a while, I believed them." Her voice strengthened. "But then I learned something. The only truth that matters is the one you build for yourself. I made mistakes, yes. But every day since, I've been learning, growing, fighting. Not for money. Not for fame. For worth." People leaned forward. Kojo watched, eyes shining with pride. "My story isn't about a billionaire or a bank card. It's about second chances, the kind we all need. If you've ever been judged for where you came from, remember this. Your past isn't a prison. It's proof that you survived." Applause began, hesitant, then swelling into thunder. Some stood. Others wiped tears. Efua smiled, tears glistening under the stage lights. If I can rise, anyone can. Behind her, Kojo walked onto the stage. Cameras flashed wildly. He placed a hand over the microphone. My daughter speaks truth, he said proudly. Efua Asare is not a scandal. She is my blood, and my pride. The hall erupted in cheers. The next morning, the internet flipped. She owned the stage. From tears to triumph, Efua's redemption speech. Kojo Asare's daughter inspires millions. Clips of her speech spread across Africa. In one day, her social media following tripled. Brands offered interviews, but she turned them down. Instead, she and Kojo met quietly with a non-profit team. I don't want to be famous, she told them. I want to help girls who are like me, the ones who think they'll never be seen. Within weeks, the Efua Foundation was born, providing education, food, and shelter for underprivileged children. The first shelter opened in Makola, near the same ATM where it all began. On opening day, the mayor attended. So did the press, though this time, they came not to mock but to celebrate. Efua stood before the crowd, dressed simply in white, her bronze pendant shining in the sun. Behind her hung a banner. From Forgotten to Found, the Efua Foundation. She took the microphone again, voice calm but strong. When I was 17, I thought my life was over. But sometimes, life has a funny way of writing its own story. And if mine teaches anything, it's that no mistake can erase your destiny. Applause thundered. Kojo watched from the front row, tears silently rolling down his cheeks. Beside him sat Aba, proud, composed, though her eyes shimmered with quiet joy. Even Yor stood at the back, clapping slowly. Their eyes met for a brief second. He looked away, ashamed, perhaps, or changed. Later that evening, Efua placed her bronze bird pendant into a glass display at the foundation's entrance. Beneath it, an engraving read, "From Forgotten to Found." Kojo joined her quietly. That pendant, he said, smiling, has seen everything. Efua nodded. It carried our story. Now it belongs to others who need hope. As the sun set over Accra, the city lights flickered like stars. A new video trended online, this time, not of scandal but of triumph. Street girl turned humanitarian, Efua Asare inspires a nation. The clip ended with her final words from the foundation launch. I was poor, hungry, and broken. I made mistakes, but that doesn't erase who I am. No one's past can steal their future. The crowd's cheer faded into music, soft African drums and strings rising in harmony. Kojo placed an arm around her shoulders as cameras flashed. You've changed the story, my daughter. Efua smiled. No, Papa. The truth changed it. We just let the world see it. End scene. The final frame zooms in on the pendant behind glass, the bronze bird gleaming under warm light, as a voiceover echoes. She was once called a thief. But destiny called her something greater, a daughter, a leader, a light. The end. Loved the story? Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and become part of the Audie Ray Stories family. Your support helps us bring more powerful African tales to life. Thanks for watching. We can't wait to share the next one with you. See you soon.